Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server during her time as Secretary of State has been the focus of those attacking her presidential campaign.
Governor Scott Walker has been extremely critical of Clinton's use of personal email, despite the fact that two of his former aides in the Milwaukee County Executive's office were convicted of crimes for using personal email to campaign on county time. But since the Clinton email story broke, Walker has said repeatedly that during his time as governor, staff has been instructed to use their official government email whenever possible. He told the Weekly Standard back in March, quote, "We have an established policy at the state where all that information goes through the state server, so any of that is open through the state's open records rules." However, a 27 News investigation into the way private emails are handled by the governor's staff is raising questions about whether there is true transparency and if you as voters are seeing everything you're entitled to under the state's open records law.
Capitol Bureau Chief Greg Newman is digging deeper into how the governor's office tracks, stores, and releases those emails.
Have Keith Jilks or Mike Hipsch or anybody in your administration used personal email for government business in their time in your administration?
I don't know. I'm aware of.
But the governor was aware of it at the time that exchange took place on May 28th, just a few days after 27 News requested all of the emails sent to or from the personal email addresses of former Walker Chief of Staff Keith Jilks, former Department of Administration Secretary Mike Hipsch, and former Deputy Chief and eventual Chief of Staff Eric Shute. Their personal email addresses provided to us by a tipster. The emails, all 980 pages of them, finally came this week.
We have a strict policy in terms of our office and our administration that information regarding state business, whether it's conducted on state email, which would be our preference.
But in the first year of the Walker administration, a lot of state business was conducted through personal email. Much of it dealt with planning, such as this March 2011 email sent from then Chief of Staff Keith Jilks to other senior staffers detailing the self-prescribed weaknesses of the Walker administration's first 100 days in office, including the governor's overexposure to the media and long-winded speeches. Others showed private email was used to discuss big policy moments, such as this thread from the day after the state Senate passed Act 10. It includes the statement Secretary Hipsch ultimately released to the media on Act 10 being published and becoming law. We know some of the emails were sent to or from Governor Walker's own personal address. Bob Drexel, the director of UW Center for Journalism Ethics, says the state's open records law doesn't directly address the use of personal email.
I don't think there's anything that says you can't use it, but I think the law is written and interpreted in such a way that says if you do use it, you still will be subject to an open records request.
That's exactly what the governor's office told us when we reached out for comment, stating in an email, our office also routinely trains staff to forward any emails related to state business to their official accounts for the purpose of retention. But in the case of these emails, most weren't sent to an official state account until they were forwarded to the government email address of Walker Chief Legal Counsel Brian Hagedorn, all on the same day, July 31st, 2015, 2 months after our open records request.
Yeah, I think it's an issue, to be sure. Yeah, and apparently and potentially a serious one.
Drexel says that delay makes him wonder if we got all of the emails that ever existed or if some are now gone.
To me, the policy that you described of forwarding things so that they get into that state system itself is a very good one. But again, it all falls apart if people don't in good faith comply with the policy.
Governor Walker refused an interview for this story, but a spokesperson says the office is properly handling records for the purposes of open records disclosure